In previous videos, I've shown you all of the basics of how to get started recording a video. In this video, I'm going to show you a little bit more information about all of the different settings that are available once you've installed the GoPro app and once you've connected with one of our cameras. There's a lot of information on the screen here, and probably the easiest way to get used to it is to just tinker a little bit and play around and get to know what's what. But I'm going to go through briefly each one of the various sort of major settings one by one. When you connect the camera and you've turned it on and you've synced your phone to the camera, you'll see all these different settings across the bottom, across the top, and then a few here in the middle. Now, unfortunately, I'm using a camera to record and looking at the phone looking at another camera. So it's a bit like turning two mirrors toward each other. It might be a little bit confusing. So hopefully the light isn't glaring too much as I go through all these different settings. So I'll start across the top, and probably the most obvious is the power button. When you're done recording or you just want to shut off the camera, pressing that icon is going to turn off the power to the camera, and you'll hear a few beeps indicating that the power is off. Then across the top, right in the middle, you've got the battery indication that tells you how much battery life is left on the camera. You've got the Wi-Fi strength indication, and then just below that gives you some indication of how much memory capacity is left in the SD memory card. Our GoPro cameras have 64 gigabytes of available memory space. So that's telling us that at the current settings, we could record for up to 2 hours and 48 minutes. Now, the battery is going to run out before we reach that memory capacity, but that is giving us an indication of the upper limit of how much total video we could record. In the far upper left-hand corner, this backward-pointing arrow will return us to the main menu of the GoPro app. So if you have multiple cameras on your phone, that's one way that you would be able to switch back and forth between the two, but you're probably not likely to need that. In the lower left-hand corner here, we have some indications of things that are related to the quality of our video. 2.7K is an indication of the resolution of the video. 30 is the frames per second that we're recording. And M tells us that it's set on the medium setting in terms of the width of the screen capture area. Then across the bottom here, you see this grid of 9 squares. If we had previously recorded videos, we could click that to review any of the videos that we've already recorded. So that's a great way to watch something that you just recorded to see if it's up to your standards. And then in the lower right-hand corner, we have this camera icon that would allow us to switch between video or photography mode. You can use these cameras to take photographs. And then in the lower right-hand corner, you also have this small gear icon, and that's where you can go to change all of the basic settings. And I'll get to that in just a moment, but before then, the most likely options that you're going to use are right here in the center right-hand portion of the screen. We've already seen this main button. The circle is what you press if you want to start recording. And then when you want to stop, you simply press the red square. Below that is an option that you could press if you wanted to record a time-lapse video. And then above that is the option you can press if you want to take photographs. So you can play around with those major options. And now let's go on to the settings. If you press the gear icon in the lower left, it brings you to all the different settings, and if you have a smartphone, I'm sure you're familiar with this kind of page. You can turn these things on or off, or adjust them to your needs. The very first thing is the resolution. By default, the GoPro cameras, we're going to have them set to 2.7K. 4K is the highest, and as you can see here, you can lower the resolution to 1440, 1080, etc. 2.7 is simply a good middle ground. It's very high quality, but it's not the highest quality. Generally, as a rule of thumb, the higher the quality, the bigger the file. So if I were to record a 10-minute video in 2.7K, we're talking about a video file that's going to be several gigabytes in size. So if you don't want to have to make your computer work too hard while you're editing these videos, you could even lower the resolution just a bit to make the file size smaller. Next we have the frames per second field of view, and a few other settings that you can safely leave as is. The field of view you may want to change depending on your needs. Super view is the widest, and that tends to distort the view the most. If you've seen those YouTube videos where people are making, their BMX videos or their motorcycle videos or whatever the case may be, they may be using this super wide view. Medium is the view that I find distorts things the least. So if you're recording something in the sim lab, if you're recording something in a classroom, you don't want distortion of the video that you're shooting. Medium is probably going to be your best bet. In addition to that, you have a lot of other settings that you can switch depending on your needs. But a couple of others that you may want to check from time to time are at the very bottom of the list here. You've got the battery level, which will tell you as a percentage how much battery is left, and then SD card capacity. That tells you the memory left in the camera. So right now it's telling us on this camera there's 4 different videos, video time remaining is 2 hours and 40 minutes, etc. So that'll give you an idea for how much space is left if you're recording a lot of videos. Oh, and one more thing I forgot to mention. If you're recording using the external microphone, make sure that you put the audio input setting on standard mic. And that's it. Those are the basic settings available to you on the phone app that'll allow you to control your camera. In addition to that, you don't have to use the phone. Everything that you see here on the phone app, you can also do on the camera itself. The challenge with the camera, though, is that you have one button on the back and one button on top, and this tiny little screen across the top of the camera that shows you all of the available information. So it can be a little bit more challenging. I find the phone app to be much more user-friendly, and I bet you will too. In the next video, I'm going to go over some best practices that you can easily and quickly put to use to help you avoid some of the most common pitfalls and take advantage of some of the best practices for recording video.